the fact that and this is something I've certainly thought, but he beautifully put words to the fact that they're all Trudeau. Every single one of them is Trudeau. And that's something I've known, but I just don't know that I've quite like had the intensity for it. Where, yeah, I mean, literally every single person who's running, it's all the same person. Like, and I think to me, what really stood out from that was just the highlight of, whoa, this entire party, except for some backbenchers, I'm sure many of them are totally fine. But like this, what? I'm sure they are. Why are you laughing at me? I mean, like in terms of corruption, some of the backbenchers, nobody talks to them. They don't get invited to things. They're just there, you know?
And that's why it's funny. Yeah. It's like they literally are. They're just kind of like wallpaper.
Yeah. They're just there. But so outside of some of them, and of course, none of them are throwing in their hat for leadership, obviously. When it comes to all of the main figures, like, yeah, they're literally all the same person. And also, too, you know, I had this thought that developed as he was talking about our issue in terms of defense spending, our issues in terms of the division, the Trump tariffs that are coming and all of that. About the simple fact that all of these people who have announced that they're running, there's only 2 people who have formally announced. We had that op-ed, which we talked about last time I was on this show, from Melanie Joly about how she is going to be Trudeau's successor. Chrystia Freeland has already been making calls, made it quite clear by all accounts that she's going to be running. Mark Carney is officially Carney for Canada and Jeffrey Epstein. Like there's all of these people. It's true. There's all of these people who have announced that they're running. And they're all the exact same person. But then I'm thinking a little bit deeper on like, okay, Dominic LeBlanc said that he won't be running, which I actually thought, I don't really like Dominic LeBlanc. If he was my neighbor, I'd probably think he was a nice guy, but I don't like him in government. And I thought that this was pretty respectable, and I'll give him credit for this where it's due, that he said, I will not be running because in order to run would mean I'd have to give up my current duties as Minister of Finance, and also with the Trump tariffs and all of this stuff that I've been involved in. And I really appreciated that he said that, because I was like, yeah, that actually does seem not as selfish as everybody else. Like you have Melanie Joly, our foreign affairs minister, who's talking about running.
Yeah.
In this time, are you kidding me? Get bent. Honestly, go home, have a baby with your husband and leave us alone. That would be great. That's what you want. Just go do that, please. So that was something though, when he was mentioning, oh, they're all Trudeau, that just really stood out to me, thinking about all of the people and some of them who do have very high profile, what is the word I'm looking for? Folders, files, what do they call it? Portfolios. Gosh, thank you. Haven't had to hand in one of those for quite a few years. So
exactly.
But so, you know, there's a lot of them that do have high profile who are saying, and they're making it sound like they really want to be running. And I'm like, that sounds crazy, because who's taking over for you when you decide to do that? And this time is horrendous. And then also too, you know, I really think that I can understand where some people get, I don't know what word I want to use, where some people get kind of a yucky feeling. I don't know what word I want to use, so I'm going to use yucky.
Love it.
But where some people get kind of like a yucky feeling about the way that Pierre Poilievre presents himself and some of the things that he says. And I think a lot of that comes from it being drilled into our brain that for some reason having national pride is a bad thing. When in reality, we actually really need that. If you've looked at the amount of people who no longer feel pride in their home country of Canada, clearly being a post-national state isn't working out very well. And people like to have an identity. They like to have meaning and belong and to feel proud of their history, the good and the ugly of it, and where it brought us to today. And so the fact that he also focused on that, saying like, we're not going to erase our history, we're going to be proud of history. I'm paraphrasing there, but I just thought a lot of that was really powerful. And while I understand why some people might find that kind of off-putting because of the way that that type of language has really changed its meaning when it's, you know, it's not a bad thing. Just as a whole, I don't know. I felt like his whole speech was really hopeful, and it just felt like a leader. Like it did. It felt like you know what you're doing, you know what the problems are, you have a game plan to address them. I don't think you're going to come in and be my savior. Like Pierre Poilievre is not my false deity that I'm worshiping to by any stretch. But I'm like, no, like your values do seem to be very on par with my own, and very on par, even if there's some things, which I haven't really found any yet, that I were to disagree with. At the end of the day, your messaging as a whole is just like with Pierre Poilievre, some of the things that he says, Justin Trudeau has to always make a point of saying, I love this country.
Yeah.
This country, I feel it in my bones. And you guys know I am a fighter. I fight for this country because I love it. Like, he always has to make a point of doing that. Whereas Pierre Poilievre, like, obviously he said like things similar, but Pierre Poilievre, just the way that he speaks, it's like he doesn't even have to tell us that he loves this country and he wants to do what's best, because he like shows us that with all of the things he calls out and all of the common sense that he speaks. Like, it just seems, it's just such a different form of human being. And it's just really wild to me. It's just so wild to me how the last year has panned out. And I'm tired of Justin Trudeau being a fighter. If you're a fighter, go fight in our military. They really need people right now. Like, I don't know what to tell you, buddy, but please stop fighting for us. Like, in this regard, as a countryman, please stop.
Yeah. And honestly, like, even that point exactly about like him having to say that he loves the country. Like, I thought that was so funny, because I think about like, anytime I see a movie that I'm going to watch with my wife or something and it says love in the title, I'm like, if you have to tell me there's love in the movie, it's probably a really bad movie. And then I'm like thinking like, and you see any products and it's like, it has to say it's quality or premium or something on it. I'm like, it's obviously not quality or premium if you have to tell me. If I can't intrinsically know that, it's probably not there. And I totally agree with you about the pride thing, because I think that we have been conditioned, especially with some of the horrific things that we found out about Canada's history. It's like, this is where I think that we need to adopt a growth mindset instead of this fixed mindset of like, these things happened that were bad, therefore we are bad. It's like, that's not how it works. Like, growth mindset says, there are things that we need to atone for. There's things that we need to reconcile. There's things that we need to grow and learn and never do again. And that's how we need to look at this and be better. It's not that, oh no, like we were awful, so therefore we don't deserve to exist. And so what I really appreciated about this was that he kind of spoke, he used words, pride, he used words like integrity, he used words like strength. And especially because I have a couple friends who are like recent immigrants, and they talk about the fact that when they come from their home countries to Canada, they're so proud to become Canadian because of the values and the morals and the lifestyle that we embody that they couldn't find in their home countries. And they said, like, the biggest problem with the West is that we don't, value that we just think that that's just the low bar. And it's like, it's not, that's not the bar. Like, that's actually something we fought hard for, and we need to celebrate and we need to have pride in. Otherwise, we'll lose it. And so when I listened to the speech, the other thing that I thought that was really interesting was when the reporter asked about, should axe the tax be the main theme in the face of all of the Trump tariffs and everything else happening? And he's like, absolutely, it needs to be. He's like, Trump is waging an economic war with us. He's like, he's already said there's no boots on the ground happening. What this is purely because you are in such a weakened state that we know we can take advantage of the resources and the economics of the situation to benefit us. And he's kind of like throwing it out there, oh, it might benefit you too. And you see folks like Kevin O'Leary saying the same kind of thing. And I really don't believe that for a second. I know that there's been a number of people that have posted this on X, and I had this conversation with my father even. I said, I don't own my home. You erase that boundary, you've erased like 40 to 60% of the value in my home. You'll create a housing crash like never seen before, and you'll erase the life savings and value of Canadians everywhere.
That's a really good point. I never considered that before. That's a really, really good point though. Yeah. Because it's like, oh yeah, sure, there's going to be some of these benefits to Canadians in the event that this all happens. But yeah, I never considered that either. The fact that a lot of homeowners, our value of our homes is outrageous here, which is just something we've become used to, right? It's normal. But if you were to actually get rid of all of that, it's like, oh, well, all of these things would drop. So would the value of the very few things that you do have, right?
Exactly.
I never considered that. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, no problem. And the other thing that I liked, though, what he said is that he talked about the massive sucking sound of business and finance and talent leaving Canada to go to the US right now. That's already happening. And I'm like, yes, I'm seeing that happen right now. We're seeing top talent go, why would I be here where I'm taxed to death? I have no freedom to move things around, and I could go to the States and hire people for for less paychecks, but larger for them. So they're going to be happier. And I'm going to pay less tax. I'm not going to have a carbon tax on top of every single item in my supply chain. And also the fact that they have a better innovation pipeline down there. I mean, I work in innovation in the health authority right now, and one of our greatest threats is the fact that we'll develop something in our universities in Canada, something absolutely incredible. Like the things that are coming out of Nova Scotia, like I can't say anything about them, but they're incredible. And then what happens is the States comes up, offers a big salary for them, and offers them beautiful spaces with like less taxation, less red tape, less hurdles. And then they go to the States, and then, they get to reap the benefits of Canadian ingenuity, Canadian innovation. So when he spoke to that and he said, we want to create a country where people can grow their business, grow their innovations, grow their families, I was like, I was doing the clap because I was just like, yes, you're preaching my language.
On that note, it's one of those talking points that just drives me absolutely nuts. And I think I've been in this space now for, it'll be a year in like April or something. And I think I'm starting to get to a point where I just feel super annoyed by a lot of people. And I'm trying to reconcile with that. And I'm trying to avoid that, not lose my humanity. But the amount of people who will argue saying, oh, well, you know what? The capital gains tax hardly affects anybody. The carbon tax hardly affects anybody. And it's like, whoa, was that ever small? Like, you need to be looking at the bigger picture here, because those big taxes, while they may not affect you individually on your like receipts as much as you think they are affecting you big time in everything that you do.
And it doesn't surprise me, because if those are the people that are supporting more left-wing policies, more liberal policies, well, what has been the MO of the Democratic Party in the States, the Liberal Party up here, we're seeing it right now in California, is they always go for the short-sighted quick wins. Things that will keep people happy, keep them coming back. They will never really invest in anything that's more long-term, because, well, who wants that? That's going to make people unhappy. And so, of course, they're going to focus on the micro. Of course, they're going to focus on what's happening right in front of them and not looking at what's happening on the macro scale. And that right there is where the tension is between the conservative side and the liberal side. Is liberals like, well, things are going good right in your world, things are fine. You're not really paying a carbon tax except for like on the liter of the gas you're putting in. You're not, we are looking at the full supply chain, what's happening across the country, how everything's raised in prices on top of all the money that's been injected into the economy.
Yeah,
that is where we're at. And I think that's where the tension happens, is like in some cases, like I don't want to say it this way because I don't want to both sides it, but like depending on your perspective, it can be true. And I understand that, but you have to understand all the facts to be able to inform exactly what's happening.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the long term versus the short term. So it's like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, sure. The carbon tax going up by whatever. Oh, well, it's only a few extra cents on your bill. Okay, sure. What's the long term, though? What is the long term? Even Mark Carney, who is Carney for Canada and Epstein, has like officially, he pulled out. He has a multi-trillion-dollar business that was in Canada paying into the Canadian tax system. That's huge for our economy. And when the capital gains tax was announced, after the carbon tax went up, which he has endorsed and supported and wants to go up even higher, he pulled his multi-trillion-dollar company out of Canada and relocated to New York because they don't have as much taxes and it was more profitable for his business. And that's somebody who loves this country and Epstein and is apparently running for prime minister. Yeah. And you're pulling your business out because you, in and of itself, have just acknowledged that, yeah, our taxes are way too high, and you're seeing investment leave. And if anything, I think, and I haven't quite formulated this, so apologies if this sounds kind of crazy, but I think one of the biggest things is you are seeing a lot of once high quality things, whether that be people, investments, businesses, whatever, leave Canada and be replaced with low quality. Yeah. Why do we want that? Are we not supposed to be a first world country? I don't like that. Doesn't make, and you can see that all around you. You can see that everywhere. The things in Canada are being replaced with like the second or third option in so many cases. And like, why is it that, Target couldn't thrive in Canada and they had to cease their operations here after a while? I don't know if they did across the country, but I know where I live, they pulled out after 3 years.
Oh yeah, they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah, like, and we've seen that all over the place when businesses try to come in. Oh yeah, we can't. There's too many regulations. There's too many restrictions. It's like zoning laws are crazy. Getting permits is crazy. The taxes are too high. And then there's more taxes. And then you pay taxes on the taxes. And then the economy is suffering as a result of all of these insanity or all of these insane policies. And therefore, you don't have as many consumers and customers as you once did, because people are keeping their wallets a little bit tighter now because they're struggling to even afford to pay their bills, and then to pay off, or like to pay their bills, pay their debt, and then to also stay alive. And so to me, when people complain about that stuff, my immediate thought is like, okay, A, you either still live with your parents and you don't have a real job yet or something, and you don't actually know what it's like out here, or B, you are a very privileged person and you're speaking to me on some moral high ground because you think you're better than me and you know more than me. But in reality, it's just that you don't understand what's actually going on here because your life, fortunately, you don't have to. And so it's just really frustrating. I'm so frustrated by everything that he's brought. And that's one of the reasons why I appreciate Poilievre so much. I like how he talks to me. He talks to me, not at me, And
that was part of the other thing that I thought that was interesting from this speech too, was that he said that, regardless of what's happening in Washington, I'm going to speak to the American people, the American business owners, the American investors. I'm going to go to them. And that's kind of been his approach, exactly what you said. He goes to the people and leaves the elite for, formalities. And so when you talk about that, and we saw in his kind of speech with, or his conversation with Jordan Peterson, he said, I've done 600 events across the country. And a lot of the events that he's done has been with blue collar tradespeople, with, local community members. Like when he came into Nova Scotia, he went to the Port Authority and actually spoke on the ground with the port workers. He went to a couple small businesses, and he actually went to people in community and talked to regular average Canadians, not those who are, like you said, sitting in a position of privilege or a position of power. And so when he talks about doing that with the states, going to them directly and saying, here's what we can offer you and you can put pressure on Washington, I thought that was excellent. I thought that really speaks to the idea of grassroots movements. And I don't understand why more left people aren't seeing that and going, speak to the people, speak at a grassroots level. That feels very NDP. That feels very liberal. Like, why wouldn't you get on board with that? Like, what is the disdain here that's happening?
The rhetoric is absolutely shocking to me with people who are very far gone on the left, like those radical people who honestly, I don't know, like I've never actually met one in real life, and I'm starting to think that they're not real and they're bots. Like I'm like, because there's no way that this is how somebody actually thinks. Like I'm like, how were you raised? Who were your parents? What? Like, but there's some people who are just like so extreme on the other end, and in a way that I wish I could understand, but unfortunately I can't at this point in time. And it's just so shocking to me the way that conservative politics are described, because if you know anything about history or politics around the globe, like the Conservative Party of Canada is kind of just like a traditional liberal party. Like that's really what it's become. But then they're called like far right, radical, extremist. Vladimir Putin's his BFF. Look, here's a photo of Vladimir Putin at his birthday party. They're best friends forever. Look, they have matching friendship bracelets. Oh wait, that was Justin Trudeau and Vladimir Zelensky. Like it's just so crazy. It's so crazy the way that people talk about it, because it's just like, what world are you living in here? Because the things that they're saying, and I know that we're going to get into some of this as well about the things that they're saying that seem to cause so much division and whatever. when you really look into it and do your research, it's pretty clear to see that you have been lied to, and you may dislike the approach to certain things, but if you actually get through the dislike of the approach and listen and read, you would be, how could you disagree with half of this stuff? It makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. And it's not radical.